Greetings ladies and gents, welcome back to the Craft Hammer. I'm your host Stefan, and in today's video we're continuing on, similar as before, with a deep dive into the Underhive of Necromunda. And of course, since we started off with the Spyre Hunters in the previous video, what better way than to actually go and check out what is supposed to be, I guess, their main starter box. So without going too far into it, if you haven't seen it yet, make sure to go back and check out the previous video that deals with the Oris pattern Spyre Hunters, if I remember correct. What I did say in that video was that I thought that the Spyre Hunters were like a mercenary that you can just attach to another gang, but apparently they can actually become their own gang with this little kit, which is their kind of starting base from what I've seen online. Now, do make sure to subscribe to the channel, drop your comments down below, and don't forget to like this video. So if I understood correctly from looking online, I do believe you actually are able to make your gang leader from inside of this box. I actually believe it is this one here, and the other three patterns are just like another additional ganger that you can make for this squad. And then I think that the Oris pattern, like actual rig, is an addition that can be added to this gang as, I suppose, like their heavy variant. As I previously stated in the other video, I don't actually know much of the rules. This is mostly a deep dive, or not really a deep dive, but a jump into the game through the models, and eventually hopefully we will learn the actual rules and figure out what exactly each one of these models do. Similar as before, we're going to open this up, take a quick look at the sprues, and then we're going to build these models and see what they'll look like all fully finished up. So let's quickly get these sprues out and check out what we actually get. Now, if any of you happen to watch my other content when it comes to marines, I do like myself some molded bases. It really makes it easier than having to figure out what to do. So I do like the fact that a lot of these Necromunda sets do seem to come with pre-molded bases, so that when you're in the Underhive, all you have to do is simply glue them on this and then paint it up. So fairly nice and easy, pretty cool that they do come with those. Now, I do actually see that on the box itself, they don't use the molded ones and they've created their own, it seems like dirt tracks, I believe, if I'm looking at it correctly. Maybe I'm not, and maybe they are the molded ones, but they do look slightly different. Now, when it comes to the sprues themselves, it does seem to be, I guess, a copy and paste. So the same sprue, just done twice. And of course, we can see the two wings that will be put on the one there at the back. This was a bit surprising when I was looking at it, because when you normally have, I guess, the same sprue done twice, normally you will always have like two models that have the same pose. So I am curious to see, because there are, I think, 10 legs all over these sprues, so I'm assuming that's how they're going to change the actual poses, by interchanging the actual like legs that are found on these sprues. So definitely looking forward to that. I can see some of the nice blades that you get and some of the spikes. Looks fairly like similar to the Oris pattern ones, so I don't suspect it would be that much difficult or that much different from those. So what we're going to do, we're going to build the 4 variants. I believe there is only 4 variants. I don't think you can actually build anything else, but we'll see just in case. And then once they're built, we'll get them up here and give them a nice quick review. So we'll see you back in a few minutes after we get these built. And we are back with the completed Spyre Hunters team, the Malkadon, Yeld, Jakara, and the Hunt Master, I believe is the name of this one. Overall, let's talk about the actual building process, since that's kind of where everything of my opinion kind of holds right now. I wasn't a fan of everything that was in this box. More specifically, the one with the wings. I have to say, I don't like the fact that it's leaning so far forward. It's such a precarious state. Now, it wasn't like falling over without the wings, but the problem that I have is that it's such a small connection point here. Even though this section is glued nicely, there's a high chance that it could snap off there if it falls wrong, or if it accidentally falls over and, like, let's say something like a terrain piece might fall onto it. It just has such a fine connection point, and I do worry that this might break. But on top of that, I wasn't particularly happy with these wings. You literally have a tiny connection point there, and of course it is a round smooth connection, because, you know, it gives you the option that maybe you want to make the wings kind of look like that, so this one will be out a bit more and this one will be like a bit forward. Obviously it gives you the option of setting up where you want the wings to be, but the problem is, in reality, the ball joint there isn't perfectly suited for you to put it everywhere. And what I realized is that when I was trying to find a good location for the wings, there were gaps appearing on some of the sides because it wasn't perfectly fitting around the ball joint itself. But luckily, after quite a bit of trial and error, I managed to find these positions where it did fit on the ball, and I had to put a bit of extra glue there just to make sure that it doesn't fall off. But again, I really worry about this, as it will have such a short lifespan before something here snaps and then all of a sudden the work kind of goes down the drain. Most likely you'll need to eventually pin this model once things breaks. And to be honest, style wise, I'm not sure if I like the fact that this one is just like these gun weapons. I do feel like I would have preferred, ironically enough, the two claws from this one on the one that has wings. I think that would have looked cool, although it's possible that if it was going forward with the claws as well, it would have been such a huge model on such a small base. So I understand why they probably didn't do that, but I do feel like this one is probably my favorite one. Let me just quickly check on the box. I can't actually know. So this is the Malkadon one, and then the Yeld is the one with the wings, it seems. And then this is the Spyre Huntermaster, and then the one with the blade and shield is the Jakara. Now the one with the claws here, I think is my favorite, because unlike the other three, this has both feet on the ground and has like a nice fighting stance. Definitely feels more imposing and like it's more grounded. And then of course these cool power talons, whatever they are, look fairly epic. While the other two, as I was saying, I'm not a fan that they're all on, you know, their tippy toes. Again, this one has such a small connection point. I actually put a bit of extra super glue there. That's why you see that cloudy extra bit, because it was such a small connection. I just want that extra stability, and I'd rather just put extra glue and then paint over it to get rid of that extra like detail there. Again, this is an interesting model, but it is something that's a bit weird because you have just a blade and this shield, so I'm not entirely sure if they have some sort of pistol on them. And then of course you have the Huntmaster, who also has a blade, and the Talon, which isn't too bad because they have this big connection point here, but again, still on their tippy toes on that rock. But no pistol on this one either. So I am a bit confused on how exactly they're going to act in the game. I will have to find out the rules for these guys and see. Maybe they just don't need it. They're super fast and they're able to get into close combat really quickly. But also it would have been cool if they all had one of these like little cannons on their shoulders, somewhat similar to the Predator from like the Alien and Predator series, where he has a shoulder mounted cannon. It would have been cool if, for example, this one with the claws had one of these cannons just popping up from the shoulder and like acting like a small little turret. It doesn't need to be like super powerful, just like a pistol shot in a sense, but it's from their shoulder mount, and then obviously they jump in with their melee. So even though I wasn't particularly happy with some of the actual building process, just because some of the joints were very, as I always say, circular, smooth, very easy to kind of slip aside and not get in the proper position, unlike if you had, let's say, some pegs between the two arms. Even though I wasn't particularly happy with the build itself, style wise I do think they turned out fairly interesting, even though I'm not a big fan of the one-legged pose. I do prefer the ones that are more grounded and standing on both legs. they still look pretty cool, the actual models themselves, the designs, and I am looking forward to getting these painted up. Not entirely sure what scheme I'll do. I'll also get the Aurus Hunters and add them here and, you know, prime them all and paint them all at the same time. Maybe I'll do a video on that. I haven't really decided yet, but let me know your thoughts on these models. They're a small, pretty cool looking gang. I do have a game coming up eventually this summer. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure when. We haven't actually decided, and either we will or I will be fielding the Spyre Hunters, and it's a skirmish game, so we're not doing like a full campaign. I'm just trying to get the hangs of it, and either I will get the Spyre Hunters or you'll soon see some videos with the Ash Nomads, since that will be kind of my normal gang that I'm trying to collect for Necromunda. So I'll be getting those boxes, and then I'll probably give you guys some kit reviews, and then we'll see, because unlike the Spyre Hunters, I did manage to get my hands on the actual Ash Nomads book, so at least for those ones we'll have the rules. But for now, I do recommend these models, even though build wise they weren't the best, just because style wise they look pretty cool, and I think they're gonna paint up really nice. But for now, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to drop us a like and a comment down below what you think of the Necromunda Malkadon, Yelt, and Jakara Spyre Hunters, and then stay tuned for maybe some future Necromunda videos that we have coming up. And until next time, take care, folks.